Today on Breaking Bitcoin, millions of crypto Twitter profiles switch their sentiment from sell this pump as fast as you can to screenshots of TradingView charts captioned buying all dips. Now we're just hovering in the air and people are wondering, are new highs imminent, or are we just one large market sell away from the straw that breaks the bull market's back? Meanwhile, the IRS finally publishes new guidance on crypto taxation. Are you familiar with those crypto dividend hard forks you were so excited about before the majority of them went to zero? Yes, we do owe taxes on them now. Meanwhile, Alipay disputes Binance's claims of offering PTP purchasing services to Chinese citizens, and unfortunately, another ETF bites the dust. All this and more in today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. All right, guys, welcome to Breaking Bitcoin, recorded live here in the studio for you. It is Thursday, and my, how time flies to the week, guys. It is Thursday, October 10th, 2019, foul year of our Lord. This is your daily source for market updates, sentiment, and news for cryptocurrency traders, investors, and enthusiasts. My name is Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at CrackingCryptocurrency.com. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic wherever you happen to be tuning in from, and whether you're watching us from across YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or on Roku with the Investor News Channel app. If you want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in the live chat and hit that thumbs up button. We highly appreciate it, guys. We've got a fantastic show for you guys today. I don't even know where to start. I should probably start by letting you know that today's episode is, of course, brought to you by the Premium Trading Group. If you guys are new, experienced, or aspiring traders, make sure to check the link out in the description below or head over to premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com. I believe the banner is above me today. And you guys can see all that the group can offer for you. And, of course, I want to remind you guys that the entire team, is heading to a blockchain week. We'll be in San Francisco for the San Francisco Blockchain Week event, October 28th to November 2nd. We'll actually be there a day earlier and be staying a day later. Really excited about the event, guys. We're going to be down there conducting interviews. We're going to be down there meeting up with individuals that are involved in the space and just trying to broadcast all of that live to you guys. So we will be doing live streams down there. We'll be doing live shows down there. If you are interested in going, there is a link down in the description below, and you would probably want to use that link if you are going to go. And why, you ask? Because that link will give you 15% off the purchase of any ticket of your choice. As much as I like saving money, as much as I like making money, I enjoy saving money more. There's just something about saving money. It makes me feel really warm and fuzzly on the inside. So anyways, that link is down in the description. Let us know, please, in the Discord, if you guys are going to be attending San Francisco Blockchain Week, because I would love to do a Cracking Cryptocurrency community meetup and meet some of you wonderful, awesome people, as I have done actually over the course of doing this. So anyways, guys, San Francisco Blockchain Week, excited to be there. I'll let you guys know any updates as we move closer and closer to that date. Beyond that, I want to thank today's and this month's and previous month's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security Coin. Make sure to go check them out at spectresecurity.io. Without further ado, let's head to the live scene. Let's give away some crypto and let's break down this market, guys. Let's do this. All right, here we are over in the somewhat live scene. We've got the random comment picker pulled up. We are just going to load some comments. Yesterday's video was, of course, Bitcoin set to blow ? Binance and China plan to pump Bitcoin. Ripple blast Libra and Nano exit scam, guys. Make sure to go check out yesterday's video. It was a good time. Thank you guys for coming out. And Bob the Builder, what's going on, my good friend Paul Bob the Builder, one of the best, the man, the myth, the legend. He says at 5411. Now, that may be changing with Charles Schwab removing trading fees. I'll keep you guys updated on that. Justin serving up the content. Give this man a raise. Thank you to everyone on the Cracking Crypto team for the show today. Paul, thank you so much, man. The man, the myth, the legend. Hit me up in the Discord, my good friend, one of our moderators, and I will tip you some crypto, my good friend. No, Brian did not. Yeah, place your bets now, Sansi. Wins the free crypto, 10-1 odds. Yes, unfortunately, Brian's hot winning streak was just brought to an end. All right, so here we are. Boom. Here we are over in the live scene. And yes, if you guys cannot tell, having a little bit of a rough day with my throat. A little bit of, I want to say the sickness for the most part has not majority returned because I don't feel like I want to just fall over and die. But my throat is extremely scratchy this morning. Ever since I woke up, just kind of, feels like I inhaled fumes or something last night. So, or at least my throat feels that way. So bear with me, guys. I would like to think that it makes me sound more robust and attractive, but who knows? Maybe it's just highly annoying. Anyways, we're going to do today's show in the best of our ability. Yesterday, Parallax flipped bullish and Minx gave a clear long signal. Time transformation was above the noise line and above the zero line. And Wadatar explosion was confirming along with a green column printing above the explosion level and the explosion level being above the dead zone. So short-term volatility was higher than long-term volatility. So I did take a long position on BTC USD. Now, as I said yesterday in my market update to the premium members, and as I talked about on yesterday's show, I was not overly excited about looking at alt BTC pairs. As I said, I believed we had moved into an area with Bitcoin pumping up like this and then hanging in the air. And exactly as I said, guys, Bitcoin pumped up, hung up in the air. And it wasn't until, actually, the second part of that story was Bitcoin likes to make a big move, hang up in the air until the daily candle close, make you take action at the daily close, and then wait until about 2 o'clock in the morning and then do something. That didn't happen today. We really are just right where we were yesterday. Honestly, from the moment we went live yesterday to where we are right now, price has moved less than 0.5% from closing basis, where we're sitting currently right now at 85.63. So anyways, not a whole lot to talk about with intraday volatility. If we look over at the hourly time frame, which we will do when we get down to some lower time frames, overall we have seen a retracement down to our Kijunsen, a little, and as well as our EMA 13, depending on what you guys are utilizing to help guide your trades for trend direction. And we've seen a slight reaction off of that. But again, mostly just hugging it, not a whole lot of volatility, a lazy list to the downside because we are so far putting in a bearish printed candle on today's chart. However, if we look at other metrics as well, Heikinashi, we are experiencing our third bullish daily candle. Something interesting, looking at Renko ATR, we have not yet printed. Of course, ATR on Renko is going to be 424.77. We have not printed a green brick yet. So those of you looking at daily Renko would not have flipped long yet. But of course, that is not the actual way that we would be trading Renko, and probably not the ATR value that one who is actually trading Renko as their primary movement would be pushing us up to the upside. Now, altcoins. So alt BTC pairs did mostly pull back. I said this yesterday. I was talking about we're in an area with Bitcoin doing what it's doing, where you kind of have to, and again, this is pretty much the advice that I try to give. You're not sure exactly how volatile or how market spread, how wide across the board it will be. But with Bitcoin moving to this area and everybody either wanting to long Bitcoin or sell this pump up above the median, sell this pump up above the range for a reversion to the mean or a reversal trade, you're going to see the liquidity flow out of altcoins. It doesn't really matter if Bitcoin pumps from this point, because that means that altcoins will dump. And it doesn't really matter if Bitcoin dumps from this point because altcoins will still dump. And that is exactly what we saw. Let's go over to Crypto Bubbles, give Crypto Bubbles most of a refresh. Now, we do have a couple coins that are up, Maximine, Raven, Luna, HT, Algo, Sele, Ren, 0x, and some slight gains in others. But for the most part, we do have anywhere from 3 to 7% pullbacks for the majority of our altcoins right there. So not massive, huge dumps. We will see. I think this is a little bit of a prelude, a precursor to Bitcoin's movement. Again, it's possible that Bitcoin just hangs in the air up here for a few more days. If Bitcoin does end up hanging up in the air and putting in the same kind of low volatility, so low volatility interspersed with like just one fairly large candle over the course of a 4-hour period, which Bitcoin can do and has a history of doing sometimes, slow walking its way up or slow walking its way down, then we will probably see liquidity return to the altcoins, but we don't see that yet. So again, if we move into the weekend, with low volatility on Bitcoin, then we'll most likely see bullish activity for the altcoins because alts tend to be quite bullish weekends tend to be quite bullish for altcoins. And then typically the way that you want to do that is about around Friday evening, starting to put on your positions. That's very congruent with the daily candle close. And then as Sunday evening rolls around with the CMEs opening back up and liquidity returning to the Bitcoin markets, you kind of want to relax. And then, of course, generally the movement comes in on Monday or Tuesday. So if we do not see a massive movement in Bitcoin by Friday evening, by tomorrow evening, by tomorrow's daily candle close, then most likely I'll feel fairly bullish on altcoins and fairly neutral on Bitcoin. Unless we have something change, I'll hold my current BTC position open. And that's about it. As far as the majority of my equity, since we are still below a trending line, whether you're using the EMA, well, we are above the EMA 13, but below the 30 period, below the 30 period Kijun. I do not have all of my equity long exposed. I'm not fully long all in on Bitcoin. I am operating from a cash basis still. So I'm still in a hedge overall for my position, so not losing or making money on that. The only portion of my portfolio that is now making or losing money is the long trade. And in fact, that's the only trade that I have open at this point in time is my long position on BTC. I had taken profit on my other proxies for taking longs on BTC, which I had put on back on Monday. And I did take profit on those and move my stop loss up fairly aggressively. And I'm glad that I did because they did pull back. Two of those trades did pull back and hit their break-even price. And then over the course of yesterday, pretty much all the altcoins that had, some have hit and take profit one, some had hit and take profit two, some were kind of in the middle. I aggressively moved my stops up. Those all pulled back and hit those. So out of the altcoin market, I don't have any altcoin exposure as far as trading goes, although of course I do have altcoin investments that I have. But that's neither here nor there. That has nothing to do with trading or strategy. Those are buy and hold situations. So all I have is BTC USD long exposure, and the majority of my capital is still hedged at this point in time. So basically being very conservative and very careful at where I'm at right now. And again, we'll see kind of where everything's sitting tonight. And again, something that I also want to point out is that when we are in an overall macro bearish environment, which I think we are, and we're looking to take basically reversal or breakout trades, So breakout trades in the sense that we are in a range and we're looking to break out of them, and reversal trades in the sense that we are below the Kijun or below our baseline, whatever baseline you're using. And this, again, depending on your baseline, this might not be true for you, but we're below my baseline. And that means that if I'm going to take a reversal trade, I'm going to do such a thing on an asset that has a higher probability of success with those types of setups. And for me, that's Bitcoin. All right. For me, that's Bitcoin. I don't really see the point if I feel that Bitcoin's making a movement to moving into proxies for Bitcoin rather than just trade Bitcoin. Now, with the one caveat, with the one exception of Ethereum, because Ethereum does on occasion outperform Bitcoin, even when you're trading dollar pairs. You'll see Bitcoin move 3%, you'll see Ethereum move 6%. You'll see Bitcoin stay flat, you'll see Bitcoin move up 5%. So all right, let's see here. A couple more comments. We are above. Now these lines were the trading range that I've talked about. This is just marking out the top of the lower time frame range and marking out the bottom of the lower time frame range. And we have closed the candle above that range, and we are now attempting to, as some would say, is their confirmation, which is opening and closing that candle above that range. Again, this doesn't mean anything to me. I just want to point it out because it does mean something to some of you guys. And so talking about looking for candlestick patterns or looking for candlestick analysis to be initiating your trades in such a way. I don't really care about that. I don't really care about opening and closing above horizontal levels. And personally, nor should I think you should. But anyways, I digress. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, we'll pop up volatility expander. And we've talked about, again, sideways market. How can we determine a sideways market? You need to have this is where your volatility filter can play double role. If your volatility filter can give you a value that measures volatility, when volatility drops to a certain point, that is when you start initiating your reversion to the mean strategies. And again, reversion of the mean strategies, I think, worked very well on the 4-hour time frame in this range, and typically do work very well in ranges with Bitcoin, because with the 1-hour time frame, With the 1 hour time frame, you can't just buy the first candle that closes below the lower band of the volatility bands, the volatility expander, and you can't just sell the first candle that closes above the upper band. With the 4 hour, you typically can, because you have that time data compressed. So you have, it's generally cleaner. But with the 1 hour, your safest bet is to wait. Classic strategy is to wait until price goes below the lower band and then returns back inside, closes back inside the band. And then but the problem with that is that from a mean reversion strategy, that severely reduces your spread, that severely reduces your edge. But I do just want to point out, with that being said, that overall, we've seen that strategy be somewhat successful here. The first 4 hour candle that closed bullish would have you here, and you would not have quite hit your target of hitting the baseline. But again, price is just hanging around here. Now, we've talked about this before. Typically, consolidation at a higher price after a very large movement is typically quite bullish. We are not getting any 4 hour trending signals. In fact, Parallax did just flip bullish here on the 4 hour time frame. So whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, from the 4 hour perspective, you are going to be out of your active trade. You are going to be out of your active trade. Let's go see over here. Yes, we did talk about how the 4 hour would have gotten you into a long trade on this 4 hour close right here, convincingly enough, except for Parallax. So a lot of the guys in the group obviously don't have access to Parallax. I haven't released it yet, nor do they have Volatility Expander, because I haven't finished all the bells and whistles that I want to add to them. And I just need to sit down and write the videos and shoot all that. But the first thing that I wanted to do before that was finish up the next PTP module. But anyways, Minx and Wadatar Explosion and Baseline would have gotten you into this trade quite easily. And that would be a nice, again, this candle was a nice 5% candle. And you would be exiting right here. Again, as we can see, Minx actually exiting you on an up candle, as it is prone to do on occasion when followed properly. And you'd be out of this trade right now. So you would have garnered your 5%, would have been a very quick trade for you. You'd been in a trade for about a day on the 4 hour time frame, and you would now be out of your position and waiting for your next bullish signal, all right? Waiting for your next bullish signal. Down on the hourly. Again, let's get rid of Volatility Expander in this case. And I do want to bring in Starkejensen. We can see here, Kejensen breaking above, giving us good initiation in. You would have gotten faked out on this trade right here. You do close above. Minx is above. Wadatar Explosion does signal along right there, although you are below the dead zone filter, so you're not taking that trade if you're using the dead zone filter. And then you do get the opportunity to get in here on the hourly. On this 1 hour candle, everything's firing on all cylinders. You enter on this close, and you take this trade up, and you exit right here. You would exit right here. Actually, hold up. Nope, on this one. You would actually exit on this up candle. That's where Minx crosses under. So you'd be out of the trade here from an entry here. Not a bad trade. So actually, I think a little bit smoother than the 1 hour. You would have only been in the trade for about 5 hours, whereas the 4 hour had you in roughly getting in around this time zone. Holding this trade and then waiting pretty much for this candle close to exit the position. And that brings us to where we are right now on the daily. Just sitting in the air, not reversing anything that we've talked about, still having you hold the long. On the 4 hour time frame, having you out of the position of waiting for further signals. And on the hourly time frame, not taking any action, because although Minx has flipped bullish over here, Wadatar Explosion is bearish. Parallax is bearish here on the hourly. So on the hourly, one would have been taking this short trade right here. One would have taken this short trade right here. Entry right here. Let's see if we would have grabbed some profits already on that. Yep. So one would have hit TP1 right on this wick right here and would have gotten out of the trade right here. So only would have, kind of a quicker term trade, only hitting TP1 on the hourly right here. A few hours later, you do come back. So again, you make money on the trade quite a bit, but not as much as you would want. And thank you so much, Tegan, for the subscription over there on YouTube, my good friend. So let's see. So on the hourly, there's no strong long signal. On the hourly, there's no strong short signal at this point in time. You actually have some conflicting signals because you have a re-rising explosion level letting you know volatility is good. And pretty much any volatility filter is going to be telling you that you're okay to trade in this range. Well, depending on how sensitive it is, because something like ADX is not going to tell you you're okay to trade. ADX is still telling you don't trade, which again, look at that as you will. I don't really like ADX for the most part because I find it's too restrictive and Bitcoin is a little too volatile. But again, if you adjust your settings and make it work well with the other indicators that you're using, then you might get something fantastic, man. I try to tell people that all the time. People say, well, Justin said that we shouldn't use this indicator. I'm like, I said I don't use that indicator. You guys might be able to find a fantastic way for it. So we'll wait and watch. Again, deferring to the daily. Daily gives me no indication to be exiting my position. The 4 hour, which had you catch this trade, is telling you to go ahead and had you exiting the position over here. It hasn't given you a strong signal since. Yeah, not a short, not a long. And the hourly has had you in this long and potentially in this reversal short, which only hit T1 and basically has you doing absolutely nothing right now, has you flat. All right, let's head over to the crypto bubbles market. Again, we just talked about this a while ago. Seeing pullbacks in most of the altcoins with some notable exceptions, such as Ravencoin just blowing up, actually. Ravencoin doing quite fantastic. Ren, Maximine, Algo. I do believe that Ravencoin was called by Alex as well. So good job, one of our analysts, Alex, trading Ravencoin. Let's move over to with all these short trades where there is small price variation, don't you end up losing money due to the trade percentage taken by Coinbase or whatever you're using? No. Nope. Fees in cryptocurrency platforms are ridiculously low, man. Again, I've said this a million times before, and I think it's kind of a silly thing. Like, well, and it's because I'm a manual trader, right? It's because I'm a manual trader. If fees are making you unprofitable, you're overtrading. Fees are ridiculously low in cryptocurrency. Or you're not position sizing appropriately. But no. The only time I enter into a trade and lose money is if it hits a stop loss or I exit at a loss. Not when I hit my first take profit and then lose money. Again, so let's say that, so what is the fee on, what's the fee for a market order on ByBit? 0.075%. And if price moves 1%, well, 0.075 times 2, 1% minus that, that's your profit margin. Let's check the E-Trade Schwab fees. Yeah. And bump the table twice. Well, Charles Schwab has actually dropped their fees to 0, which is, not going to lie, got me interested in going to, potentially, I don't have the time to do it right now, but it has opened up my mind and some other analysts that I'm working with as to supporting stock trading or being interested in going and trading stocks again. Diversification, diversification, diversification. Let's go look at ETH. Well, you know, they went to 0 commission. They used to charge you TD Ameritrade. And I think Charles Schwab used to charge what was it, 425, 475 per trade. $4.75 per trade. The difference is, this hurts TD Ameritrade way worse. Charles Schwab was really the first big one to come out. I think it's only those commission fees only account for 3% of Charles Schwab's annual income. Whereas TD Ameritrade, it was like 33%. 33% TD Ameritrade's fees. I think TD Ameritrade has a high probability to go out of business. They're going to need to significantly switch up their market strategy. But there's no way that they can let Charles Schwab or all the other major competition follow Robinhood and M1 Finance and Webull into the realm of zero commission, and not do the same thing. Everybody would just flee from TD Ameritrade. It just sucks for them that they built their business model around commissions. I mean, now, like objectively looking at it, if I had to recommend a brokerage for somebody, I almost would have to, by default, send them towards Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab has an extremely professional platform, no fees, a lot of good what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of good tools for doing research, and you don't really get that on a lot of crypto platforms. You're kind of, I get the question all the time, like, hey, where's the best place to look for information on cryptocurrency? And I'm like, Twitter? So Ethereum USD looking exactly the same. The difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is that Ethereum has actually climbed its way above the baseline here and given that signal. So this would have been a good strong signal as well on Ethereum. Potentially even better because you are not below yield baseline. Oddly, TD Ameritrade still offering bonuses to open accounts. I don't think, different divisions, man. I mean, they're desperate to bring in clients now. EOS USD. EOS USD and XRP USD. Price action put me to sleep, but I made it. Can you start over? Nope. Sorry, you're going to have to rewind, my good friend. EOS USD and XRP USD. Again, I'm going to make sure I take a look at the XRP USD chart first here. But again, it's kind of the same thing. And it's kind of interesting to see how these different levels do different things for these different cryptocurrencies, obviously. So we can see Ethereum above the baseline. So that looks quite bullish. And EOS here get rejected from the baseline. Again, you want to take a nice average across all the exchanges, but you can see the exact same thing happen over here on Bitfinex, which a lot of people feel is a proper price discovery vehicle for a lot of these assets. Do they have crypto on TD Ameritrade? I do not believe so. I know that they have crypto CFDs on FXCM, which I'm not really interested in trading. Nor can I trade CFDs if you're in America anyway, so. TD is going to offer futures for crypto. Oh, it's going to have to. Okay, I was going to say, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not offering that yet, man. I mean, what will probably happen is they're going to offer CFDs. Well, not for Americans. Americans can't trade CFDs, but all right, moving over to XRP. XRP looking similar to Ethereum. It was, XRP is XRP historically holds this role of, okay, so here's the claim about XRP. The claim and we've seen this happen a few times. And we can see this on something like BitGer with the correlation chart. There's other correlation charts as well. Enroid.com is a good one, where we look for coin correlations. Unfortunately, I would say that almost all of that data is not very helpful to us right now. There's not good, clear correlative data between Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, right? There is a fairly clear pattern on how altcoins move as opposed to when BTC USD moves. We know that when Bitcoin is in a strong bullish market, altcoins can perform well. However, 2019, altcoins did not significantly overperform BTC USD. That's why we did not see alt season. We should have seen something like alt season. We didn't see that. And again, kind of the argument and claim now is that Bitcoin is topped, and this is exactly when we're going to start seeing alt season again. We already saw a pretty significant across the board pump on a lot of altcoins. And it happened for about a week. And a lot of people are excited about alt BTC right now. Alt BTCs right now, especially XRP. But I didn't want to kind of speculate on whether or not that was true or not. But the main thing that I wanted to speculate on was the coin correlation concept. So XRP has been used as a hedge on Bitcoin. So for example, people want to go, but it's not like, so if you go long on BTC and long on XRP, that used to work in periods of 2018. It doesn't work now. We talked about, if we go to the XRP BTC Finex chart, so this is a chart that you're going to have to look at with your own kind of understanding, or excuse me, with your own discretion, right? Because if you see a chart that looks like this of something that you really, really like, of something that you fundamentally believe in, you buy it because price is very low. I feel that way about the Litecoin chart right now. I don't feel this way about the XRP chart. And neither am I going to guide you guys down the route of hodling XRP for the love of God. So let's just look at it from a trading perspective. XRP USD, a little bit more interesting, right? We do see a little bit more clearly that we are at this level where XRP has come down to once, twice, 3, 4 times and put in some pretty significant rallies. So from the realm of price action, seeing sustained closes below 24 cents, I'd be a little bit more conservative, but I'd say 23 cents at this point in time would be clear indication this level has failed and this is not going to be holding up as a demand zone. But until proven otherwise, this is a demand zone. Juxtapose that with what we've seen pretty much since, unfortunately, 2018 and our last blow off top, which is lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Oh, hey, there's a lower high. A lower high. Ooh, oh my God. We make 2 equal highs. Oh, and then a lower high. And a lower high, right? So I think I got a song by The Cure stuck in my head. Yeah, I got nothing negative to say about anybody that trades XRP. I trade XRP. I'm just not going to sit here and advise people to buy up XRP, to be quite honest, for a long-term hold. Of course, that's going to be your guys' own. All right, it is 12:36. I think we should probably hop over and look at Forex. We can take a look at traditional markets and whatever you guys would like to look at this point in time. From a trading perspective, let's go over XRP USD here before I do leave. XRP above the baseline, looking for a reversal at baseline bounce is where we'd be sitting. So that would basically be positing that XRP, unlike EOS, because EOS is in a different posture, XRP and ETH will reverse off of this line because they've crossed a fairly bullish territory level. Parallax is bullish. Minx is actually not crossed to the downside, so you could potentially be looking to take this reversal baseline bounce. Wadatar is tentatively bullish, as we can see over here. And this would be seeming to posture that these will follow Bitcoin up as Bitcoin continues to move. Trading and holding is two completely different things. I absolutely agree. I'm going to take about a 1 minute break, guys. I need to go grab some more coffee and get some water. When I return in about 30 seconds, 1 minute, maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds, we'll look at Forex and we'll look at traditional markets. And let me know if there's something you guys would like me to look at. I'll be right back, guys. All right, and we're back. Thanks, guys, for holding in there. Okay. I think that'd be a good question of the day. If you were going to write your own white paper, what would your title be? Sylvan, I think that's a good question. All right, let's hop over to Forex, guys. Let's go check out the news calendar. CNY, new loans, blah, blah, blah. EcoFin meetings, no. I'm not too worried about employment change and unemployment change in the CAD. That's pretty well known. EcoFin maybe on Euro markets. I don't really see anything here too massive. For the love of God, we don't have freaking Mr. Powell coming out and saying something every day, which is why I've pretty much avoided the USD markets like the plague for the last week or so. Seems like every day I look at the news calendar and it's like, ah, great. More from Mr. Jerome tomorrow. Cool. Looking for nice random 3% movements from the dollar pairs. Ruben Dario, thanks so much for the sub on YouTube, my good friend. Jack, what's going on from Facebook, man? Hopefully you're doing well over there in sunny Aussie, man. Okay. Anyways, on the Aussie yen, we are breaking above the baseline, but Parallax is not bullish. Wadatar explosion is. We are below the zero line on Minx. So this would be falling into the realm if one took this trade of reversal. I would not be super interested to take this long myself, to be quite honest with you. Aussie Kiwi, took a short trade on Aussie Kiwi a couple days ago. We are just kind of hovering around in the nowhere zone. Hasn't really moved whatsoever, to be quite honest with you. But this is one of the better pairs to trade. It is quite smooth and liquid. Can we finally look at dollar pairs? All right. Well, I won't be taking an Aussie trade. There's no reason to hedge my funds into Aussie dollar if I've already got an Aussie Kiwi trade on, but would be bearish on the Aussie dollar. Canadian Swissy. We got some nice chop going on with the Canadian Swissy, and it does want us to trade long, but we're just not there yet. Nothing has flipped bullish yet. Nothing has flipped bullish yet, and just getting some low, again, supply and demand doesn't exist in Forex, so we can't really look at lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. All of that's completely printed for the most part. Doesn't mean anything. Can't trade Forex like you can anything that has actual supply and demand, because governments can just print currency and central banks can just manipulate it. Keep that in mind. Yeah, so we just got to wait. Nothing there yet. CAD Yen. CAD Yen does want us to take a long, but we're not there yet either. In a mostly a reset period. Swissy Yen feels the same. Nice strong reaction off the lows here. Double bottom. But we're not there yet for a long, unfortunately. We're just not trending. Euro Aussie. Looking for any and all reasons to take the Euro Aussie long. Looking at that news calendar, I want to be a little hesitant. So unless I see a really strong signal, I'm not going to take it. Let's see here. Monitor explosion is negative. Now we did get we did get a decent signal yesterday. We did get a decent continuation signal yesterday, where WADA confirmed, Parallax confirmed, Minx confirmed. Minx actually gave us the signal, and we have pulled back today. So one could consider this a cheaper price to get into the Euro Aussie long, but keep in mind, I already have the Aussie Kiwi short here. So I would be essentially trading in the same direction with those two trades. But I'd just be betting that the Euro outperforms the Aussie faster than the Aussie outperforms the Kiwi. So I'll put that on my watch list. The Euro Canadian. The Euro Canadian does want us to take a long, and that is a much better signal. And the Euro Canadian is a much better signal. Keep in mind, we do have employment and unemployment change coming in tomorrow. So potentially, if you are going to take this trade, I'm not really looking for that to have too much of an impact, but it always could. Ruben, how's Sweden doing today, man? But yeah, this is a much stronger signal for the Euro. So be that as it may, I think I'll probably avoid the Euro Aussie exposure here and look at the Euro Canadian. But that just means I'll have to take less risk with that employment change coming up. Prudent to just use a smaller position size. So a very similar signal coming in here from the Euro Swissy, and that does allow me to avoid that exposure in totality. So even better. So Euro CAD just got dumped. And the Euro Kiwi, again, I don't really see any reason to take the Euro Kiwi when I'm already trading the Aussie against the Kiwi over here. So we will just, and we don't have a clear signal coming in here. We are above the baseline, and again, kind of putting in that same lower high pattern, but again, doesn't really matter as far as that goes. You do have to train yourself. Euro, pound, nice, swift, sharp, steep movement down, for the love of God. That would have been a bad trade. That was a nice trending trade. Breaks were right above the baseline right here, and just gives you a big fuck you candle, man. Who's a Brit, man? Let me know what's going on over there, guys. Did Britain just release a patent for flying cars? Is Tesla now being funded purely by the British pound? Nothing to do on that. In fact, you even have to reset your ATR value a little bit on that. The Euro Yen. Let's see, I don't have any contra yen trades. This is an interesting one, though. I like that. Parallax looking bullish. You know, I always like to trade the yen and the Swissy. How big of an FU candle is BTC going to hand us? Well, I don't think that it's going to be as, you know, again, it could be as big respectively as this Euro pound. What do you think there, Mr. Ether? You said you were long unless we see 8,000 again. I'm inclined to agree with you at this point in time. So you'd be looking for a FU candle in the opposite direction, I assume. So we'll stay away from the euro pound. Euro yen I like. Let's see here. Yeah, clear signal, clear signal, clear signal, clear signal. Yeah, I like that. So that's already on my watch list. Don't really want to split my... I'm going to have to wait until the daily bar close and see, well, right before the daily bar close and see what looks better. Because I wouldn't take both. I wouldn't split my funds against the euro Swiss and the euro yen. I just take one trade. Euro dollar, avoiding like the plague. Pound Kiwi, I already have an Aussie Kiwi trade on, but yeah, we won't be taking the Aussie Kiwi long anyways. This is a nice FU, pretty much an FU candle to the upside. We'll take that off the watch list, actually. Same with the pound CAD. Ooh, look at these nice FU candles coming in from the pound. Ban on vape juice has commenced. My coworker is now without juice, even though you warned us weeks ago. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. You guys must be, yeah, so Montana must be taking some more punitive measures, man. You know, the state where I live has decided to take a little bit more of a reasonable approach, which is they've raised the age from 18 to 21. And I could talk quite a bit about the vape juice. Okay, so we must have gotten good manufacturing production and good national statistics. And Governor Carney, all right. Governor Carney must have lit the fire under the world. Go, 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 Carney. Nice hot coffee is keeping everything nice and silky smooth. I'm not going to lie, guys. Kiwi dollar. Not a clear trade on the Kiwi dollar. And Kiwi CAD. Again, my two FX trades right now, which is the Aussie Kiwi and the Kiwi CAD. Both just hanging right at the break-even price right now. Both just hanging right at the break-even price. Smoking, vaping, nicotine age is now 21 as well. Yeah, man. And we're a long ways away from where we were at the founding of this country, I'll say that. Kiwi Swissy. Nope, no long trade on the Kiwi Swissy. You can see here, even though a Parallax is bullish and what a TAR is, Minx has actually crossed underneath, which is an exit signal. The Kiwi Yen does potentially look good. What else was I looking? Yeah, the Euro Yen. So that would be hedging up. If I'm taking the Aussie Kiwi short and I want to take the Kiwi Yen long, that would be hedging up against those. Put that on the watch list. That might not be bad, especially since my Aussie Kiwi trade is in drawdown. And if I do, actually Minx is crossing up, so I should be exiting this trade tonight. Pretty much right at my break-even price. The Kiwi CAD trade has not given me the signal to exit yet, so I'll hold this long open. And that does kind of clear the gates. I don't really like taking... I don't really see the sense of taking the Kiwi CAD and the Kiwi Yen long, although it could be okay. Dollar CAD I'm going to ignore. Pound Aussie, that should be up here with the pound pairs. And I'm still going to stay away from mostly dollar-centric pairs at this point in time. Aussie CAD and Aussie Swissy I think I'll ignore as well. Now, the dollar yuan is signaling a short. What do we have coming up tomorrow? Yeah, CNY, new loans. Wally, what's up, man? Thank you. It's hard. Highly appreciated, my friend. Some people have a lot of free time, I guess, in the chat. Yeah, so we do have this coming up tomorrow, new loans. So I'm going to not take this dollar yuan trade. I've been looking for the short signal for a while. But this is a very treacherous pair to trade right now. And I know a lot of other FX traders who are just ignoring the dollar yuan in totality, completely. D. Guerra, thanks so much for the sub on YouTube, which I don't blame you guys for doing so. With the trade tariffs, I mean, there's obviously a lot of volatility and opportunity here to trade. But as far as, you know, safety and risk management, I understand the approach of not wanting to trade it whatsoever. Just as, you know, I understood a lot of people who didn't want to trade the pound, and still don't want to trade the pound with all the Brexit stuff going on. As a trader, you want predictability. There's a difference between gambling and trading is not gambling. And gambling is not trading. All right, so looking to dump my Aussie Kiwi position tonight. My Kiwi CAD position, I don't see any reason to change it. Pairs of interest are the Euro Swissy and the Euro Yen long, and the Kiwi Yen and the Aussie CAD long. With, you know, the dollar yuan interesting to me. With the dollar yuan interesting to me for a short, but I'll wait until Monday to take any action on it. I'll wait until Monday to take any action and see what Monday's bar close looks like. Which would technically be the day of Sunday, but, or excuse me, it'll happen on Monday, but it'll be Sunday's bar open. I digress. Moving right along, guys. Checking back in with Bitcoin. Oh, thank you so much, Bitcoin, for just not doing anything. From a price action perspective, you're most likely looking for this BPC, this break pullback continuation, seeing if we can hold the upper boundary of the level. Otherwise, this is going to be reversion to the mean. Volatility expander. Which is exactly pretty much what we've done. Close outside, return to the mean. Seems like we do want to return there on a little bit more of a closing basis. But from the 4-hour perspective, which is what we said was the most successful with this strategy, we're pretty much already there. Price just wants to come down and snug around that $84.50, $8,400 level a little bit more tightly. And it could still do that. Now, that does not negate bullishness. That's just what price wants to do. If you were in a short, if you did short this top, your second target would be something like 83.09. All right, it is 1 o'clock. Check out my subscriber number on YouTube. It is it is 666. You guys know what that means. Time for Bitcoin to pump. All right, guys, it is 1 o'clock. We're going to take a brief break. When we return, we're going to break down the relevant news of the day because I do have some opinions on what is going on today. Especially, I want to talk to you guys about the new crypto guidance being issued by the IRS, and I want to kind of commentate on the commentary of other tax professionals that have made themselves infamous across Twitter and other platforms as well. So don't go anywhere. We've got a great second hour of the show and more of this scratchy voice for you guys to enjoy. Let me know if you guys got any questions, comments, or concerns in the chat. And let me know if you guys got any pairs you want to check out. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, guys. And we're back. Don't know why that played so loudly on my speakers, but thank you guys so much for holding through the break. And we are back live with Breaking Bitcoin. Price currently sitting at 85.28 for Mr. Bitcoin. Let's go look at our ByBit pairs here as well. Ethereum at 191.25, EOS 3117, and ZERP hovering right around 27 cents. Again, that kind of nice hanging right up in the air and listing lazily to the downside. Okay, so with that being said, let me pull open all the notes for today's show. Good job on getting that question of the day there, Scott. Okay. So I want to talk about the new IRS guidance that we've gotten, guys. So let's head over into the news scene. And there it goes playing again. And that's going to be right here. So in the realm of paying one's taxes with cryptocurrency, it has been I don't know if you guys remember that game. I think it's called Pitfall. A lot of snakes, a lot of hoops to jump over, and not a whole lot of clear guidance, unfortunately. Well, hopefully, maybe unfortunately, we've come a little bit closer to understanding exactly how many pounds of flesh the IRS is going to want from us from our cryptocurrency taxation, because the IRS has published its first guidance on cryptocurrency since 2014. Now, back in 2014, it did rule that all virtual currencies are property and are subject to be taxed as such, which again, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. That's actually one of the best, means of taxation that we could have gotten. Obviously, we would have just been thrilled if it would have been taxed as a foreign currency conversion, but it gets taxed as a stock, which means we are subject to capital gains tax, and it's also not marked to market. So that is another positive thing as well. However, we don't have clear guidance on futures contracts, unfortunately. Futures contracts are typically marked to market. Now, this new guidance titled Frequently Asked Questions on Virtual Currency Transactions. Side note, frequently asked questions on virtual currency transactions. Also the keynote speak of Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse details rules for airdrops and forks, which were kind of murky and still somewhat kind of murky, tax consequences for coin exchanges between wallets, and how to calculate fair market value, which is good. I mean, a lot of this stuff we had already mostly assumed or were doing because it's common sense type stuff. But there's some good things and there's some bad things in here. And so let's break this down and kind of talk about what those good and bad things are. Now, there are some, I am going to refer to throughout this article some of the comments from accountants and tax lawyers who see this as a positive move, providing more clarity for investors and paving the way for more regional regulation. However, others are considering a lot of these rulings burdensome and lacking clarity in other areas, which, again, this is just a complicated area. So unfortunately, this is the best that we got. So to preface this, my main recommendation is that A, you pay your crypto taxes, because I do not recommend, and I've talked about this at length on this channel, if you want to fight the good libertarian fight, if you want to fight the good ANCAP fight and say, taxes are theft, I absolutely agree with you. But as a man with a daughter and a family, guess what? I'm going to pay my taxes because there are better ways to change the system than to go to federal prison for evading your cryptocurrency taxes, which we will see at one point. Now, naturally, taxpayers are expected with this guidance to report each and every cryptocurrency transaction made, making this fairly burdensome for traders. But again, you want to make sure that you are trading on an exchange that can give you a nice handy CSV printout, and ideally that you're working with some tax professional who can help you cut through a lot of the noise. Maybe pay somebody extra if you can just drop off all your CSVs. And the reason why is because you need to have the fair market value of every single transaction, and that the price reported and subsequent tax rate paid are justified. So holdings that have been accumulated for over a year are charged as per the rate for long-term capital gains, which in America right now is actually pretty attractive and lucrative, while trades under a year are subject to short-term capital gains, which is generally going to be about equal to your active tax rate for your earned income. So if an investor transfers cryptocurrencies from one wallet of theirs to another. They have to prove that fresh cryptocurrency wasn't sent to our particular account by showing the transaction between the two addresses. This was something that I have been fairly critical about, because up until this point, and I've said this before on the show, and I've had some people be like, what are you talking about? That sounds ridiculous. And it was ridiculous, because one could have interpreted the previous guidance that we had gotten from the IRS as, if I move crypto from one wallet to another that I own, that's a taxable event. That is how, and again, I had that conversation with other professionals, that is how it could be interpreted in a possible way, in a possible ruling that the IRS could have provided further clarity on. We do see here, though, that they have clarified that a little bit, and they said that if you can furnish proof from both addresses, and that you have actually the ownership of both addresses, then that is not a taxable event, the way that I'm reading this. If unable, however, to prove this through requisite transactions, then the transaction would be double taxed, or you would be double taxed, essentially. You would be double taxed on the purchase of the cryptocurrency, and then the transfer to, for example, if you go to Coinbase and buy BTC USD and then withdraw into cold storage, unless you can prove that you have ownership of those funds, then you can be double taxed. So to date, the IRS has struggled. Just a second. Wonder why my show notes are giving me problems here. Here we go. I'll just move this over here. There we go. Now, to date, the IRS has struggled with how to tax and treat cryptocurrencies, and we've struggled with, what do you want from us? The first sign of their intent to bring tax enforcement down on investors did come in the form of warning letters to Coinbase users in the United States. It was also revealed that the IRS is building tax evasion cases against several entities that deal with crypto assets, as we've talked about on the show before. Now, one of the more relevant takeaways from the guidance is that hard forks and airdrops, generally considered as crypto dividends, well, guess what, guys? Not quite. They're considered gross income and therefore taxable events. And this is where it does get very murky. Now, here's the thing. We're kind of dealing in a realm where a lot of these assets have moved down. So this is a significant current concern to a lot of people who are going to be looking at their past tax liability. The reason why, if you receive if there is a hard fork and then you receive an airdrop, whatever the fair market value at that point in time is going to be the tax that you owe, because you have now received, according to the IRS, earned income, right? You have now received possession of new cryptocurrency, and that is a taxable event. Well, unfortunately, that is very negative, as we've seen a very significant hit to the alt to BTC evaluation markets, the alt USD prices. So a lot of these hard forks that we experienced back in 2018, even 2017, have dropped in some cases 90% or more in value, meaning, unfortunately, you're going to owe a tax burden or liability on the fair market value of that airdrop or hard fork when it occurred. So Bitcoin Cash is a good example. Let's see here. Now, tax auditors and accountants, for the most part, seem to be satisfied that the IRS has helped offer some degree of clarity. However, they do acknowledge that there is still a lot left unanswered, and this is just the first step to better taxation. I think that's an oxymoron, better taxation. But we can definitely have more clarity, or our job's easier for accountants than not. Now, one major criticism being voiced is that the IRS expects this guidance to be retroactively applied, meaning investors could be liable for the incomplete filings from previous years, which, that's rough. From the standpoint of the IRS, I'm sure they're like, listen, you think we're going to let you guys get away from the massive 2017 crypto boom and bust cycle when everything was worth a whole lot of money? No. We're going to get that 5, 10, 15, 25,000 pounds of flesh out of all of you, and we're going to apply this retroactively. Now, although tax professionals aren't really concerned about this, clients are getting incredibly anxious due to the mixed signals from various regulators. Most professionals in the space acknowledge that while the IRS can issue tax guidance, they don't have much other power. Before setting up a detailed framework for the treatment of cryptocurrency, Congress and the Treasury obviously must decide the course of action. So let's go through and talk about a few comments here. Now, obviously, what I do like is the clarity on, which again, I had already assumed this and how I had personally been filing my taxes anyways, but in the difference of calculating gains and losses. It's not the best, but it was to be expected. With the gain or loss being the difference between the fair market value of the virtual currency when received, in general, when the transaction is recorded on the ledger, and your adjusted basis in the property exchange. So at what price you actually ended up selling. And unfortunately, one thing that was kind of hoped for was that there is no mention of nominal crypto expenditure. So if you use cryptocurrency to purchase a cup of coffee, that's a taxable event. It's like you would have paid for your cup of coffee with a stock, which is a taxable event. So you're still, cryptocurrency is still considered property by the IRS. So regardless, there is no nominal amount of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency that you can pay or purchase something with. That is still going to be a taxable event on top of sales tax. Jake Chervinsky, which, by the way, I highly recommend you guys go follow him. He is quite a hoot to follow over there on Twitter. He says, some parts are helpful, obviously calculating fair market value. Some are bad but expected. Payments equal capital gains and losses, and some are nonsense, such as the Forex airdrops. Let's see here. Coin Center calls the IRS guidance messy, saying any hard fork with new coins, Bitcoin Cash or Ether Classic, will create an income event for taxpayers. And main man Jamison Lopp says, today's IRS guidance is a hot mess. What if you have keys but no software from which to spend the assets? What if you never sell or transfer the asset and it drops 90% in value? What's the value if the asset isn't even trading at the time of the fork? And unfortunately, the way that the guidance is listed right here, and he quotes Situation B, he says, when the airdrop is recorded on the distributed ledger. Meaning that, obviously you guys know how hard forks work. The private key to whatever the originating chain is going to be your private key that you access the new chain with, or how you can receive your public key from that chain. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, from what I understand of the guidance, whether you want the airdrop or not. I'd like to disagree with you slightly there. And that, it doesn't matter if you accept the airdrop or not. If you have the private key to the airdrop and the airdrop is recorded on the distributed ledger, that's a taxable event. According to Crypto Tax Girl, if a hard fork is followed by an airdrop and you receive new cryptocurrency, you will have taxable income in the taxable year you receive that cryptocurrency. AKA, we can no longer assign a zero cost basis to forks. Those are now income. And the amount of income is equal to the fair market value of the new crypto when it is received, provided you have dominion and control over the cryptocurrency so that you can transfer, sell, exchange, or otherwise dispose of the cryptocurrency. It doesn't matter if you want it or not. If you receive, if you have private keys to the originating chain and they do a hard fork and an airdrop of a new cryptocurrency, you have the private key, you have the dominion to dispose of it as you wish. That's a taxable event. I agree with you, Moonshine Fuel. Just saying, man. You're not arguing against me, man. You're arguing against the IRS. And that's why it's a hot mess, because exactly, as you just say, Bitcoin can be forked thousands of times by private parties. If I don't accept private party offerings, I don't owe them shit. I agree with you. Move to Atlantis. All assets are highly liquid. Stop it, man. That's a long tweet there, apparently, by Crypto Tax Girl. So the link to this will be in the description. I highly recommend that you guys go check this out and educate yourself on this knowledge as much as you want, or as much as you possibly can. This is not the sexiest topic that we talk about on this channel. This is not the sexiest topic. And, here's the thing, man, and I've said this a lot. A lot of people involved in the cryptocurrency space a lot of the retail investors or traders in cryptocurrency don't generally come from a strong background of stocks or Forex or in some cases wealth. I mean, a lot of people do view cryptocurrency as, and again, you kind of got to look at the ethos of cryptocurrency, which is rejecting the old system, rejecting traditional finance, rejecting the way that things have been done, and building a better world. And you have some people that really, put this into the light of, everything that came before is absolutely atrocious and evil, and I'm not getting involved in that whatsoever. And I'm only interested about cryptocurrency. I'm only working for cryptocurrency. And there's a lot of people like that in the space. And then you have your kind of mixed bags of people who come for the get rich quick scheme. You kind of have your mixed bags of developers or people who are generally excited about the tech. That's actually, in my opinion, a fairly small percentage. And then you've got people like myself who have experience in previous finance and somewhat fall into the category of, believing in the revolutionary technology or believing in the revolutionary technology, but also viewing it through the light of just looking at this as an asset for the most part when it comes to cold, methodical ideas about trading. So, dealing with the IRS has been just a wonderful event of my life. And for the most part, we haven't really had to worry about it so much here in cryptocurrency. But again, I've said this for a while now, that's going to change. It's going to change. And it's going to be just as much of a headache dealing with the IRS and cryptocurrency as it is dealing with stocks or other types of trading. And again, my advice, as I've said many, many times, is get yourself a professional accountant who knows what they're doing. Laughter is the best medicine. So I could send you a shitcoin with $1,000 buy order and $1,000 sell order, and you have to pay the taxes. Well, we both would. You'd have to pay your taxes on purchasing and sending. Those are both taxable events. And I would have to pay the tax on, well, I wouldn't pay the tax until I actually disposed of the asset. And I'm not going to lie, I do fall more into the category of, this shit's pretty much a hot mess. For the most part, it's not too complicated. If you buy and sell Bitcoin, it's fairly clear. What's not so clear is, again, the hard forks and airdrops. And which, to be honest, I mean, it really depends on, so the way that the problem is, here's the problem. The way that they're currently defining this is if you receive an airdrop, that is, they're classifying that as you receiving income. So you would pay that with your regular income tax rate. To my best understanding of this, please clarify me if I'm misconstruing this. So unlike an airdrop being recorded as like a property exchange where you buy an asset and then sell an asset, in which case, if you received an airdrop, let's just do an example. Let's say you're holding Litecoin right now, and all of a sudden right now, Charlie comes out and he's like, listen guys, there's a Litecoin hard fork. We're hard forking it right now. Everybody is now able to operate on both chains. You can trade on Litecoin and Litecoin, Plan B, right? So you now have your Litecoin tokens and you have an equivalent amount of Litecoin Plan B tokens. And the Litecoin Plan B token immediately starts trading and is worth $10 at the moment of the fork. And then next year, we don't do anything with our Litecoin Plan B. Litecoin drops to 1 cent. Well, clearly that would be a capital loss, and you could record that as a capital loss and reduce your tax burden by the equivalent amount of money that you lost, up to the amount that you're allowed to deduct. But you can move money around in a Voya 401k all day. No taxable event, but God forbid you buy a cup of coffee with BTC. Exactly, man. This is just slow walking it down. Now, here's the thing. Here's the argument, guys. And here's what I need to get across to you and where I approach this. None of us should be surprised by this. We need to, and I think this provides a lot of clarity for our altcoin investing because everybody wants to come in. I think Unfortunately. Now, please don't fucking send me a lot of hate mail if you disagree with me. Well, actually, go ahead. I think it's kind of funny. But anyways, here's the reality. I think that a lot of people in this space look at altcoins as, oh my God, and look at Bitcoin too, as, oh my God, get rich quick. Again, you've got your mixed bags of people who are here for the tech. You know, you've got ANCAPs and libertarians who are here to make the world a better place. You've got a whole mixed bag, but we have a lot of traders and investors that even if they fall into the realm of those categories somewhat, they still kind of look at this stuff as a get rich quick scheme, unfortunately, you know? And not that people don't look at stocks the exact same way or trading Forex as the exact same way. You know, it's just human greed, a natural mentality, a desire to accumulate wealth or hoard wealth. It's just, you know, it's a fairly natural part of the human condition, right? So I'm not, you know, saying that cryptocurrency, that the people in cryptocurrency space are any different in this regard. But my point is that people look at the equity markets, the stock markets, again, as a similar wealth growing vehicle, right? People don't buy stocks generally because they're like, I fucking love Apple so much and Tesla so much. I just want to help the company grow. I mean, you buy Apple and Tesla because you're like, oh my God, the price is going to go up and I can make money, or I'm going to get rich, or I got a hot stock tip. And for the most part, a lot of people invest in trading cryptocurrency the exact same way. You know, some people, even if some people with their investment ideas are like, I am helping the company out, or I'm helping Ripple out by buying this token. So you're not really, you're buying a token. So you have to look at the token economics. You're not buying the stock of Ripple. You are buying an XRP token, which doesn't have any direct correlation on its face to Ripple. Now, Ripple could sell a whole bunch of the token and make a whole bunch of money, which would be helping them out. But that is a unique situation where you are going to be helping the company that you say you're investing in by putting yourself in a fragile position. Because obviously Ripple, the company, has just bags and bags and bags of XRP for days and could dump them on the market, has been dumping them on the market. That negatively hurts your cash position because the value of your investment is now going down. So what I mean by all this, I didn't really mean to just throw XRP under the bus there, because a lot of other crypto projects are exactly the same way. But you have to realize that when buying a cryptocurrency token, you're not investing in a company whatsoever. The only way that you are helping the company out by purchasing their token monetarily is by improving the value of the exact same holding that they have. And the only way that that benefits them now, the only way that they can use that to pay bills or blah, 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 or list or do anything that they want to do is if they then sell that token, which moves price down. Supply and demand. So despite all of that, the IRS has their pockets, or has their hands in the pockets of the stock market and all stock traders and all stock brokerages and all stock investors. And we still have the equities markets that we have today. So we are attempting to build, a lot of people feel that with altcoins, we are building a new asset class here. So if altcoins are not able to withstand the pressure of the IRS, which was an inevitable event, then one has to call into question what exactly is the strength of the market that we are attempting to build here. So keep that in mind. Not investing in a stock, you're buying a token. And the only thing that matters for an investment purpose is the token economics. What is the value for holding the token? If there is, doesn't really matter. I mean, because, you know, it's one of those weird areas where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you like the company. It doesn't really matter what the company does. Obviously, that can affect the price and one of the biggest things. But assuming that the company doesn't screw the pooch, all you need to look at is the token economics. That's the only thing that matters when investing in crypto tokens. Do you believe that there is a value in holding and accumulating the token? In which case, supply and demand laws would tend to indicate the price will go up. And if there's not a value for holding the token, it doesn't matter how fantastic the company is. It doesn't matter how wonderful the project is. It's just a utility token in that case. There has to be a value to hoard and accumulate the token. That's the only thing that pushes price up. Token economics. Okay. Now, yesterday, let's get off this IRS here for a little bit. Now, yesterday, we did talk about Alipay and WeChat being integrated into Binance's new P2P purchasing platform. Well, might have spoken too soon. because although it was widely reported yesterday that Binance, obviously the world's biggest crypto exchange, spot exchange by volume, was launching its Chinese peer-to-peer trading platform that would allow users in China to buy Bitcoin using the extremely popular payment apps WeChat and Alipay. Almost immediately, however, Alipay thoroughly disputed that claim, saying that it monitors transactions and blocks all of those on its payment network that are related to cryptocurrency. So Binance's new P2P trading functionality being debuted will offer Chinese users the ability to exchange Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Tether against the Chinese yuan. CZ did confirm this via Twitter that this will include WeChat and Alipay payment methods. This spread like wildfire, obviously became the biggest story of yesterday. We talked about this at length. And just to put this into perspective, there's over 1 billion active monthly users between WeChat and Alipay. And so obviously anytime that we here in the crypto space, we get this idea that we could have floodgates opening up for investors scrambling in. That's all anybody really talks about. First, it was backed, and that's the ETF, and now it's WeChat, now it's, the Chinese markets. So crypto became fairly exuberant around this overnight. Now, the celebrations may have started, unfortunately, a little too early because Alipay's official Twitter is now disputing CZ's claim and did tend to pour cold water on the entire idea, saying, quote, "There are several reports about Alipay being used for Bitcoin transactions. To reiterate, Alipay closely monitors OTC transactions to identify irregular behavior and ensure compliance with relevant regulations. If any transactions are identified as being related to Bitcoin or other virtual currencies, Alipay immediately stops the relevant payment service." So, as nice as the idea or the prospect of onboarding millions of Chinese and global users surrounding to the industry, it does seem likely that Alipay users may not have it so easy in acquiring leading cryptocurrencies. Now, while the other leading app, WeChat Pay, has not yet made a similar refutation of CZ's claims, it's likely that they will maintain the official stance of banning their users from using their services to purchase crypto. Now, on the other hand, being that this new Binance Chinese platform is a peer-to-peer PTP offering and trades will probably not be routed through an intermediary, it is possible that these payment apps will not actually find it very easy to identify the nature of the transactions that they process, and therefore they might not be able to censor every user engaging in these crypto to yuan trades. Nanozine, thanks so much for the sub on YouTube, my friend. Only time will tell, however, of course, how successful the new Binance platform will be among the Chinese users, and if they will find some ways to skirt oversight of the transaction monitors at Alipay and WeChat alike. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that it's going to be, again, we're going to have to wait and see, but I would say that with everything that's happening over in China right now, we've talked about capital flight and we've talked about where everything is, kind of the economic situation over there. I've pointed to this multiple times. If you guys want to look at how hard it is for governments to shut down Bitcoin, go look at China. China is a communist nation, for God's sakes, where political dissent is treated with execution. And they can't shut down Bitcoin. Bitcoin trading still happens in China on decentralized exchanges. Bitcoin purchasing still happens over in China. Now, granted, China has not banned cryptocurrency. They've just banned crypto exchanges. But even with the threat of death, people still trade cryptocurrency. So it's going to be very, very difficult for people to shut down Bitcoin. In fact, there's an article that I don't actually have to cover today from, I forgot her name, from Katie. She used to work at Coinbase, and now she is works with a fund. It's not Polychain Capital. It's words are failing me. About how back in 2012, when she worked for I believe it was the Justice Department, she was asked to investigate Bitcoin and means to shut it down. And back in 2012, the United States government was like, "Oh crap, we can't shut this down." So. So, Alta, thanks so much for the sub on YouTube. Now get your Ethereum moon boots on, ladies and gentlemen, because Yahoo Finance is reporting today that the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, the chairman, believes that Ethereum is a commodity and not a security. So, at the Yahoo Finance Summit today, CFTC Chair Heath Tarbert, imagine growing up with that name, stated that Ethereum falls under the oversight of the CFTC and expected the CFTC approving either derivatives trading on the U.S. markets, or approving Ethereum derivatives trading on U.S. markets in the near future. Ethereum coming live to a CME near you, saying, quote, "We've been very clear on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a commodity. We haven't said anything about Ether until now," Tarbert said at Yahoo Finance's All Market Summit. Quote, "It is my view as chairman of the CFTC that Ether is a commodity." Tarbert also stipulated the importance of the United States taking a leading role in the digital asset space as it has in previous technology revolutions. He said, "I want to stress the importance of blockchain and digital assets to the United States, and in particular, as CFTC chairman, I want the U.S. to lead in this technology." As far back as 2014, the CFTC declared virtual currencies to be a commodity, subject to the agency's oversight. Since then, it has investigated the industry and begun to develop the policy and framework necessary to open up the space up to investors and institutions alike. And we've seen this with the launch of the CME futures. We've seen this with the launch of Backed. One could talk about the difference in the movements of the market on both situations. But back in March, Brian Quintens, CFTC commissioner at the time, hinted at an Ethereum derivatives product coming to the market, saying that the regulator has been seeking input from industry experts and stakeholders on the potential new virtual currency-based futures and derivatives products. Now, although Quintens did also express concerns about Ethereum's planned move from proof of work to proof of stake, as the consensus mechanism could lead to potential issues such as market manipulation. So you heard it here first, guys. CFTC, proof of stake might open the market to manipulation. So, this is pretty good, man. This is pretty good. This doesn't, this is no good, hard, fast news. We've known the CFTC to take a little bit more positive stances than the SEC. The SEC, much more hands off, but we most likely will have Ethereum derivatives within the next few years. Don't tell the wife. We won't, man. Promise we won't. With that being said, let's head back over into the live scene and watch Bitcoin continue to droop lazily down. So let me know what you guys think in the chat about all of this. Do I know anything about mining? I know a few things, yeah, man. Depends. What would you like to know? Let's go take a look at some of our what do I think of the Elder Force Index? Maybe old, but seems worthy. I have nothing negative to say about it, to be quite honest with you. In fact, interestingly enough, I was just talking with somebody about the Elder Force Index the other day. It might have been, could have been in the chat. Yeah, I have nothing negative to say about it. I don't use it in my system. I don't use it in my system. And I'd have to go back and look through my logs to see. I'm pretty sure I've back tested it, but I'd have to go look through my logs. I don't think it tested negatively. Bytecoin, Litecoin, Zillicoin, Icon. Man, Bytecoin's only trading on Hit BTC and Poloniex now. The devil. All right, Bytecoin. Well, look at that chart right there. Well, your question got cut off, man. My friend just gave me 3 rigs with 6 GPUs each and all the hardware. On each rig, there are 2 power buttons that work individually, one for the fans and one for the GPU, and then it cuts off. BCN's a stable coin. They don't work at the same time. I'm not going to say this is a stable coin. So when you turn the fans and the GPUs on at the same time, they both turn off. Shla Rafia, that's easy. Yes, trigger price means this is the price at which point your order will trigger. So when you're setting a stop limit order, you want to set your limit price as the price at which your trade will execute, and your trigger price at the price at which your order will enter into the books. So, for example, if you set a stop limit order for $110, and then you set your trigger price as $100, that means that when price reaches $100, your order to do whatever, whether it's sell or buy, at 110 will enter into the books. Yes, the whole rig shuts down. Yeah, I'm gonna guess with the guys that it sounds like a bad power supply unit. So I would probably recommend that you just trying to think of the best way to do. If you don't have an individual that you can talk to, obviously hop in the Discord because there's a lot of miners in there, and I'm sure one of them could probably help you out if you DM them. They're just kind of put out a public post there in the general chat. But barring that, there's some pretty decent tutorials online on how to build a miner, and I would just start walking through those and troubleshooting the individual areas first. Since they both seem to be powering off, I would look at how they're wired to the power supply unit and see if there's not something bad there. And then maybe start with, tell you the way I fix things is I just start swapping parts out and see what's broken, you know? Mr. Ether says either bad or not big enough or hooked up incorrectly. You guys are great, man. Thank you guys so much. Look at that. Look at that community, man. Yeah, I would recommend hitting up Mass Stash too. He is an Ethereum miner. He knows his stuff. Somebody said something about... Can I do a ByBit tutorial? Yes, it is on my list of things to do. I promise one day it will be done. Sooner than later. That sigh wasn't for you, brother. Yeah, Ravencoin leading the charge, man. Coming up into an area of supply that I'm a little hesitant about right here. But things are pretty good, man. Let's see. Yeah, daily would not have gotten you in on this movement. Would have gotten you in for the majority of these previous movements right here. You would have had to smooth this out, I think, to stay in. And you still would have got kicked out. Still would have got kicked out yesterday, even with a smooth initiator. But the smooth initiator would have kept you in for all of this. It's not a bad trade. Yeah, that would have been a 10% trade. And you would have missed out on a 15% candle. So as far as Raven goes, looking at this more from the lens of an investor, you know, I agree. Good reaction here off of our lows. Now we're kind of coming up to this tricky point right here. And historically, well, really only one time, actually twice, to be quite honest with you. But anything above this level is good and puts us in macro bullish control zone. But as I always say, right after a very large candle to the upside is generally never the best time to enter into something. So if you're looking for a long-term hold on RVN, I would wait to see if we can get above this supply zone around 545 to 475, which is a wide variance. You're going to have to pick your own level that is the most important to you. And of course, there's tradable opportunities within that range as well. But again, depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for this movement? Or are you looking for this movement, right? No, I have no thoughts on DAG, man. It is a low sat coin on hit BTC. And it doesn't really matter if it's up 90% or 10 million%. There's just not enough liquidity over there to make it worth it for me. I don't really do the crypto penny stock trading. Back to the big dog. All right, Bitcoin, I guess we're just going to hang in the air all day. Black Leaf, thanks so much for the follow over there on Twitch, my good friend. All right, guys. BTC taking a nap. Yeah. Dag has some volume on KuCoin. Fake volume, fake volume, fake volume, fake volume. That's probably real volume, honestly. Meaning that your actual 24-hour volume, and this is assuming that everything is honestly reported by KuCoin, which is another fake volume exchange. Justin, I've heard that CBD cures everything. Feel better. See you tomorrow. Yeah, man. Sore throat? CBD, bro. Broken arm? CBD. Bipolar? CBD. Lefty, thanks, man. Appreciate that. You know, I've got that crypto tag over here, and I do want to do actually a review on the crypto tag because it is absolutely fantastic. I just have not had an opportunity to. This week and last week have been absolutely crazy, man. Is it still possible to have a death cross for BTC? Well, that depends on what you consider a death cross. So I think there's a better way to do this. So the classic Bitcoin death cross would be the 50 period moving average and the 200 simple moving average on the daily. Let's go to Bitstamp and look at these. Yes, that could still absolutely happen. What is it going to take? Probably 2 more weeks, maybe. Probably 2 more weeks. So I think if one was looking at this chart, they would just be assuming ranging between these lows around 77 and potentially eventually an upward thrust up to test the resistance at the 50 period simple moving average. Again, I've talked about these before. I'm not really too hot on them. I've actually done daily death cross analysis on my trading view. You guys can go check that out at tv.crackencryptocurrency.com. So the majority of the time, if you would have longed a death cross and shorted a golden cross, you would have made money. With a couple exceptions. And those exceptions are almost always at the genesis of a very parabolic movement from Bitcoin, which we've seen obviously in 2017 and which we saw here. Oh, cool, man. That's pretty neat. This is tick data. I like it. You like watching the 1 second chart? Can you unselect these? That's the only thing I want to see. Settings. Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty neat, man. Each tick, or 1 second, I do each tick. Volume show. Volume by price. Okay. Neato. Neato potato. We could do some damage with this. All right, guys, I'm not going to lie. It's about that time. It's about that time. Got enough lines. Like a party in the 80s, man. All right. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me for another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. Of course, I've been your host, Justin Wise. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, and or death threats, make sure to leave them in the comments section down below. I'll try to get back to you in the next 48 hours, especially if your question is germane to the situation. If you guys want to keep the conversation going after the show, make sure to hop in the Discord at discord.krakencryptocurrency.com. And remember, if you are a new, experienced, or aspiring trader looking to sharpen your skills, you would like personal mentorship, you would like access to the Pathways to Profit course, to use all of our indicators as well as all that comes with the group, make sure to check out the link in the description down below, or the overhead banner. Yes, it is above my head today. Premium.krakencryptocurrency.com. Sometimes I wake up and it's down there in the bottom. I will be back tomorrow at noon Central Daylight Time to break down the markets and give you some random ramblings. Make sure to go follow us over on Twitter as well at cracking_crypto to hear the latest of my random ramblings at sometimes, as well as occasionally charts, talks about things of that nature. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Above all, make sure that you trade safely, trade wisely, and I'll see you guys tomorrow to crack some more cryptocurrency. I'll see you guys in the Discord here pretty soon. Cheers.